Yeah, I never get tired of that song. I just love cinema. It it's one of those songs where you just want more, Steve?
Yeah. Um, I was gonna say something, but I might save it for later. But
Okay.
anyway,
You'll
so
remember?
yeah, I'll remember.
Okay.
Uh, but yeah, hey everyone, this is Yesshift. I'm Steven. This is my dad Dan, and we podcast about Yes and prog rock, all the related things, whatever we feel like talking about, and have done a bunch of interviews. And this is episode number 200. Although, for whatever reason, we didn't number the news desk ones, and we also have that other series I do, Steven's Vinyl Adventures or Steven's Venue Adventures, are like two different series. So I think altogether, our catalog has more than 300 episodes
250.
technically.
Oh, more than 300. Okay. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
reasonable. That makes sense. That's crazy. Where the did we find time to do this?
Yeah. And I mean, we still kind of have to really work to make time in between all the stuff that we do, but we make it work and we're still here.
Yeah, shout out to the Drum Talk TV fans watching on the Drum Talk TV Facebook page and YouTube channel. Thanks for tuning in. We do talk about drummers and whatnot, of course, and even, well, yeah, there you go. I'll leave it at that. So we decided, or actually, it was Steve's idea for the theme. Like, what are your top 10 prog bands outside of Yes? And,
Yeah, and I should clarify that this idea actually came from one of our followers, Carl
oh,
Coppage. And
I'm sorry.
so
I forgot about that.
yeah, and so we finally got around to it and figured, yeah, that'd be pretty good to do for this particular show.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And the way we did it is we're going to read a bunch from the fans, from you folks, and you're welcome to chime in the comments, put your list in. But we made it where you have the latitude to put them in a hierarchy if you want or not. Mine are not. That's just too much brain work for me to choose one over the other and rank them. So if you didn't rank them, that's fine. If you want to rank them, that's great. Um, there's a real funny one on the list that we have that we'll get to. But so we're gonna read all the ones we have from the fans first, then we'll read ours, then we'll look at comments. Sound good?
Yeah, that sounds like a good plan.
Okay, so I'll kick it off. Carl Coppage, Genesis, ELP, Jethro Tull, Rush, Camel, Steve Hackett, Transatlantic, Peter Gabriel, Styx, Asia, and Pee Wee Herman. Just kidding. Brian Eno.
Yeah, and I think he technically put 11 there, but since he came up with the topic, we'll give him some leeway there.
Yeah, great topic. Thanks, Carl. I totally forgot that you came up with this.
Yeah. And yeah, I think throughout this episode, there are some where we'll be like, oh, we didn't even consider that. And I don't know if that'll affect either of our lists in the
Totally.
end,
I,
but
I
that'll
think,
be interesting to see.
yeah, I'm not going to change my list, but I might add some honorable mentions or oops, I forgot, or it wouldn't fit
Okay.
mentions, if that's okay. If that's
Yeah.
okay. But I'm not going to change my list.
Yeah. So next
There
we
is a
got
there's a huge one I left off that I saw when I started previewing these lists. Before we started, I thought, like, I don't even know if I want to admit which one it was, but then I'd have to because I'm only going to name 10, but whatever. We'll
oh
get
no,
to it.
yeah, without spoiling anything just yet, there are maybe a couple huge prog bands that I'm like, I know that these are they have really great music, they're really well known, but I don't know that they would be in my top 10, even though I do consider myself a fan of them. So yeah, that'll be interesting to get to.
Yeah. And
uh,
my list is on my phone, folks. I'm making notes. I'm not texting one of the dogs.
right. And people are also, and I said this when I shared the post around, that people are free to say which era of these bands they prefer.
Yeah.
um
If there's a preference, absolutely.
Yeah, so next one, another one of our followers, Jeff Matthias. He says, so this is from number 1 through 10. The Moody Blues, always my number one soundtrack of my life band. Uh,
Wow, that's interesting. That's a good credit.
yeah, like they're one of the ones who were around since like starting in the 60s and for decades afterward. Yeah.
Yeah,
Then we got Marillion with a very strong preference for the Steve Hogarth years, 1989 through today. And
after Fish. Yeah.
number 3 is mostly Autumn. And number 4, Alan Parsons. Number 5, Mystery. That's a band that Benoit David used to be in. Number 6, Dream Theater. Number 7, The Pineapple Thief. Number 8, Asia, with a preference for the John Payne era. That's interesting.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, number 9, Emerson, Lake and Palmer / Powell. So I guess he lumps E.L. Powell into that catalog. And number 10, Styx, with a preference for 70s era and 3 most recent albums. Wow, it's nice to hear that when, there are some bands where even when their output is still good, it kind of feels like occasionally their more recent stuff will be like a resurgence of sorts. So I kind of wonder if Styx maybe has gone through something similar there. I'd have to check out their
I
catalog.
think, yeah, I think they may be the best example of that because their last album was like, whoa, what Prog rabbit hat did they pull that out of? It because they kind of veered, in the middle there. But it's a great album. It's for me, it was surprisingly Prog.
Okay, I'll have to check it out then. And Jeff's number 3 choice here, mostly Autumn. I remember we sort of discovered that through a documentary about J.R.R. Tolkien. It was called Master of the Rings. They showed like his influence on music and people being inspired by fantasy, and they showed a clip of Mostly Autumn performing. And they're a cool band too.
That's cool. It's one of the bands I've never heard of. There's about 7 on here I've never heard of.
Right.
So interesting. And then we get Miguel Bass, Miguel Falcoa, creator of Play for Chris. If restricted to Prog, and then Marillion with Fish only. No particular order depending on albums. Then we get Supertramp.
King Crimson.
Thank you. I was going to say Casey and the Sunshine Band. Okay, King Crimson, Genesis, Gentle Giant, Renaissance, and ELP. You know what? I might be the odd man out here. I'm rewinding Supertramp's catalog in my head, and I still don't see that. I don't see them as Prog. Am I a weirdo?
I'd have to check out more of their stuff. Like, I'm only really familiar with the Logical song, and like Supertramp is one of those bands I've been meaning to delve into for like ever, and just haven't made the time for it. But real quickly, I do see comments. Ivano Kogo is tuning in from Brisbane, Australia. Meadowlander mentions ELP. Yeah, they're a great band. Carl Coppage tuning in saying, "Hi Dan, hi Stephen, long time no see." Yeah, glad you could tune into this. We read your list first. I don't know if you were here when we did that, but
it's a crap list, by the way. Just kidding.
Yeah, no, it's a great list. But
and wait, going back to Brisbane, I lived there for a while, and I think the suburb was called 17 Mile Rocks, if I have the number correct. But it was something Mile Rocks in Brisbane. Yeah, great town. Loved it. Reminded me of like a more progressive Milwaukee. Hope that doesn't offend anybody in Oz, but there you go.
Yeah. Oh, we got Ziggy here saying heavy metal freak here. Love the channel. Keep going.
Nice. Thank you. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's very cool that we even have metal fans checking out our stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Miguel, I thought it was quite fitting that his favorite era of Marillion has Fish, and that's also Chris's nickname. So there you go. Kevin Ward says yes, and Jethro Tull were always tied for top spot in my pantheon, but lately Yes has edged a bit ahead. Then of course ELP, King Crimson, all incarnations.
That's impressive.
Yeah, Gentle Giant, Renaissance, Rush, Mike Oldfield, UK, and I'll grudgingly give Genesis a nod, though it's hard to forgive their later pop direction.
That's hilarious. The reason I said that's impressive in regards to all incarnations of King Crimson is because there are bands that have gone through a lot of changes, even with little to no membership changes. But often, when there's an institution like Yes, like Toll, like King Crimson, where most people are relegated to one or two iterations and not across the whole lifetime of the institution. So that's why I think, especially for a band like that, which such arguably out there music with some of those iterations, or all, depending on your perspective, that to like all those different incarnations, that's really, there's a lot of neat listening there. It makes me want to, and I've never done this with that band. I've never started from the very beginning of their catalog to the end. So that's a little bit of inspiration for me there.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool.
Yeah.
Lyndon Piers Parish. So it was top 10, not counting Yes, but some people included Yes. That's okay. Yes, ELP, Gong, Goblin, PFM. Not sure what that is.
Yeah, I think someone else has it on their list and they say
It
out
does
the
sound
whole
familiar.
thing.
I just can't place
Yeah,
it in my head.
I'm looking it up right now because it's kind of
Okay.
tough for me to remember, but I think it's Premiata Forneria Marconi. I think that might be it. The
Okay.
Italian prog rock band.
Oh, okay. And then you get King Crimson, Spock's Beard, Transatlantic at Genesis, Pink Floyd, Gentle Giant, and Renaissance. What I like about this list is, and my list doesn't have this, there's a couple what I would consider contemporary bands that were not born out of the 60s or 70s and maybe even 80s, so that's cool. There's a few of those sprinkled amongst these lists. That's a good list.
Yeah, definitely some variety there. Then we have Christopher Lee, who's from number 1 through 10. First off says King Crimson, then ELP, then UK, then Genesis, then Gentle Giant, then Triumvirate in 6th place, followed by Asia, Saga, Griffin, and Pink Floyd. Yeah, so you got a couple bands there that have had John Wetton in them, and then you have all these, or actually, like, yeah, three bands that have had John Wetton.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I like that. Felipe Fernandez has Jethro Tull, Rush, Supertramp again comes up, Genesis. Maybe there's some of their catalog I'm just not familiar with. I think my entry point for them was Breakfast in America, and I don't consider any of that prog, but again, it's subjective. Supertramp, Genesis, King Crimson, Casa das Moquinas. I'm not familiar with them. Focus. Fan, but not much. Emerson, Lake and Palmer. Then you got PFM. There you go. But written out, Premiata Fornieria Marconi. And then you got Motto Perpetuo. Sorry.
Perpetuo, maybe.
Perpetuo. Oh, okay, great. So Felipe, I wonder is your name Italian or Spanish? Wonder where you are, because there's some nods to a couple of Italian artists there, I believe. Or three, possibly, which doesn't mean you're automatic. I'm not stereotyping. I'm just asking.
Yeah, because there are prog rock bands that we're more aware of in like Europe and the US.
Absolutely.
But they're
A lot of great Italian prog bands. Yeah.
Yeah, they're definitely like other, like maybe in like other countries as well that we might not be as familiar with.
Sure.
So Philip Kilroy has Genesis as his number 1, followed by IQ, Jethro Tull, Kansas, Marillion, Renaissance, Queensryche, Haken, Ambrosia, and Coheed and Cambria. Yeah, Haken are like prog metal as well, so you might see like some prog metal bands on here too.
Yep. Absolutely. That's a neat list. And by the way, I want to interrupt this broadcast to mention that if there's bands you've never heard of, look them up. This is a great way to be exposed to music that's new to you. To me, that's part of the fun with this. This next list is quite concise. Gregory Pegg says just King Crimson, and yes, I'm good. So I wonder, Gregory, if you're watching, I would be curious to know how expansive your collection is of both bands. Is it certain eras? Do you have their entire catalog? Do you have tons of bootlegs, reissues, remasters, different things like that? I would love to know.
Right. And then Robert Watt says ELP, Transatlantic, Neil Morse Band, Uriah Heep, Utopia, Rush, Dream Theater, Devin Townsend, Pink Floyd, and Arena.
About 4 more contemporary artists there. Yeah. And then Bob Kosturko says ELP, Tull, Genesis up to the Hackett years, which would also be up to the uh, Phil Collins years because he joined about the same time. Pink Floyd, Rush, and King Crimson.
Yeah. And then we get Tiny Levin. I wonder if there's any relation to Tony Levin, but anyway,
Which is mini me.
yeah, maybe. So lists UK, Genesis, King Crimson, Rush, IQ, The Flower Kings, Marillion, Jadis, Big Train. Now, Big Train's most recent album was incredible.
Yeah.
Or one of their most recent albums, at least. I think whichever one came out last year. Yeah.
Yeah.
ELP, and then Levin says, I forgot Southern Empire and Frost. Yeah, Frost is another incredible one. I talked about one of their albums on the show the other day.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with their music. I'll have to take a
It's
dive.
Craig Blundell is in that
Oh,
band.
yeah. Yeah. Who
Yeah.
plays with Steve Hackett, of course. Cool.
Yeah.
Nathan Tyler Lowry says Queen. And I consider Queen prog. I was going to bring that up. And I think their most prog album is and my favorite album is their second album. It's a masterpiece. And considering it was recorded and all that in 1974 with what they had to work with, it's amazing production. Roy Thomas Baker's best work by far, in my opinion. If you don't agree, you're wrong. So Nathan, Queen, Styx. I said that a lot when Steve was little with his siblings growing up. Queen, Styx, and Yes have been my musical trinity. Awesome. That's
Nice.
a great influence. Yeah.
Yeah. What's interesting is Queen and Styx feel to me like they're closer to the same part of that rock spectrum. Like they're stadium rock, but also have prog. Like they're that. Whereas Yes, I don't associate much with stadium rock, but yeah,
Even
that's a
though they
really
played
cool
stadium.
trinity to have. Yeah. Like I don't know, there's just like a certain sound that
Yeah.
bands like Queen, Styx, Kansas, and Boston have. I
Totally.
don't really know how to
Journey.
explain it, but yeah, Journey is also another one.
I'm surprised we haven't seen Journey yet, because real old Journey is extremely prog with Ainsley Dunbar on drums, and before Steve Perry joined, and that era is very prog. We haven't seen it yet. We'll see if it pops up.
Yeah, and before reading the next one, this is kind of a tangent, but yesterday I performed at an improv show, and like I've told you that I was doing this, but one of the things that I did in character is, we were like in the Vegas Strip or something, and I was pretending to be like some concert bootleg seller and be like, hey, I got Journey, I got Boston, I can't tell which is which, but I got them here. And I started singing like Don't Stop Believing, but to the tune of More Than a Feeling. It was like, don't stop believing, don't stop believing.
That's hilarious. That's creative. Is there any video out there of this?
I'll see if anyone videoed any of it, but yeah, it was fun.
I'd love to see that. That's hilarious. That's a great bit right there.
Yeah. But this next list is from Jason Warburg, who lists Big Train as number one. There it is again. Like, I was so impressed with their album that I was like, I need to delve into more of their stuff, and I still need to do that. But anyway, getting back to Jason, number 2, Genesis, number 3, Rush, number 4, Pink Floyd, and number 5, Kansas. So again, some of these lists might not go up to 10. Maybe people are fine with like fewer choices, and that's totally cool. It's the bands that they listen to the most.
Yeah, mine overflows. I have some honorable mentions I just can't leave out. We'll get to that. Javier Gimino Arias says number 1, Moody Blues, Pink Floyd, Camel, Barclay, James Harvest. I'm completely unfamiliar.
Same.
Genesis, Genesis, King Crimson, Jethro Tull, ELP, Rush, and Focus. I remember when Hocus Pocus by Focus came out.
Yeah. All
Yeah.
right.
Are you
So
familiar with that?
I think I've listened to it. Yeah.
Check it out. Check it out.
Yeah. And I've definitely listened to Focus's two most recent albums. So
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
I need to like go further back and check out the others. But yeah, I've definitely listened to Hocus Pocus.
My cousin, older cousin by 7 years, who's really part of why I started playing drums as a little kid, because he did, and I wanted, anyhow, he played organ and keyboards, and his band played Hocus Pocus by Focus with the yodeling, and you gotta check it out, Steve. It's a really great hard rock instrumental that breaks into this weird yodeling part in the middle that
Yeah.
has sort of like Queen-esque layered vocals and counterparts, and it's a genius piece of music, in my opinion. I'm glad to see Focus on there.
Yeah. Then we got Dennis Singleton, who lists Dream Theater, Jethro Tull, Pink Floyd, Spock's Beard. So that one is, I guess you could consider a more recent one.
Yeah.
Within the last 30-ish years. Porcupine Tree, another more recent one. Liquid Tension. I'm not even sure if I've heard of that one. Oh, Liquid Tension Experiment is the full name, I should say.
Yeah. Huh.
Transatlantic, Shadow Merchant. I've never heard of that one before.
Me neither. This guy's making up names. Come on, Dennis. You couldn't think of any.
Yeah, Spherical Universe Experience and
Never heard of that either.
and Queensryche. So
Never
yeah,
heard of that one.
maybe we
Interesting
got
list.
yeah, maybe I think Dennis so far has some of the most unfamiliar ones to me. Like there's at least a few of them in there. Yeah.
I wonder if Dennis may be in the UK or Western Europe where those bands are more popular, or if we're just living under a fucking rock.
Yeah, I don't
Or
know.
both. Brian R. Harris says, hands down, my second favorite is Renaissance, all eras. I've seen them perform in some format over 100 times and love all eras of the band. I want to shout out to Raphael Rudd as a piano player with Renaissance, and Annie, who passed away, who died in 2002 after suffering an attack in 1987. In no particular order would be Pink Floyd, Genesis, particularly the Hackett era, King Crimson, the Red era, particularly Dream Theater, Jethro Tull, ELP, Moody Blues, Super Tram, which is a tram that takes people from the parking lot to the amusement park like really quickly. Super Tram. There's no P. That's why I'm joking about that, folks. With Roger Hodgson. Cool.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I'm not familiar with which years Roger was with Supertramp and which ones he isn't. So again, I need to like delve into that more.
Yeah.
But this next list, so this was posted by via the Yes Music podcast page. So I'm not sure if it's Kevin or if it's Mark, or it might even be Daniel Crone, who sometimes posts on their page. In fact, like reading this, it kind of sounds like it'd be his wheelhouse. But anyway, the list says, I'm going to struggle to name 10, but I'll try. No particular order.
So I wonder if they mean to name up to 10 or narrow it down to 10. That'd be interesting to know.
Oh, yeah. But starting at number 1, it's King Crimson, followed by the Flower Kings, then The Sin. That's Chris Squire's band that he was in before Yes and during the hiatus. Transatlantic, Queen, The Tangent. I've never heard of that one before.
It's named after my wife, Enja.
And then White, which of course is Alan White's band. Anderson Ponte Band. John Anderson and the Band Geeks, and then The Sea Within, which Tom Brislin was involved in.
Yeah, that's a nice list. I never heard of The Tangent either. Nice to see The Sin get a nod, and then we see contemporaries, the Flower Kings and Transatlantic again, which is cool. Caroline Ryan says Jethro Tull, ELP, Genesis, the Peter Gabriel era, Rush, also the Peter Gabriel. No, just kidding. Rush, King Crimson, and Pink Floyd.
Nice. And then Jeremiah Picard says, I think my top 10 would be something like number 1, Jethro Tull, followed by King Crimson, Brass Camel. I wonder if that's in any way related to Camel, like
Yeah,
if
I
maybe
don't
there's
know.
like a split or some or a spin-off, I don't know.
Yeah.
Genesis, Frank Zappa.
First mention of Frank Zappa. Wow, that's a great one.
Yeah. Then Rush, Focus, Dream Theater, Vandergraaf Generator, and then Camel. So yeah, that definitely would be different from Brass Camel, but I do wonder if there's a relation. And then it says, I will note there's a big gap between Rush and Focus for me. So
I guess those
Rush,
last four were kind of tag-alongs on his list to some degree, maybe.
yeah, like maybe Jeremiah has like this top 6 solidified, and then it's like, well, I also like these other ones, but not as much as these ones that are further up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly, Paul. I have Paul Janus, perhaps Jeynes. Aside from Yes, number one, starting off with Genesis, then Rush, Emerson, Lake and Palmer. Jellyfish, I'm not familiar with. We get Camel. We see a recurrence of Vandergraaf Generator again. Caravan, that's a great one. King Crimson, Focus, and Transatlantic again, respectively.
Yeah, and then with Emma Leach, Emma says for me it's probably at number 1 Steven Wilson, Porcupine Tree. So I wonder if that's like lumping in Steven Wilson's discography as well, or if Steven Wilson's only part of a certain era of Porcupine Tree. I'd have to
That's
look
what I
into
think.
that.
Yeah,
And number 2, Riverside, never heard of that one.
me
Number
neither.
number 3, Pink Floyd. Number 4, King Crimson. Number 5, Pendragon. Number 6, Marillion. Number 7, King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. Number 8,
Wait,
I don't know
the
what.
most Z's or Z's in any band name anywhere in the universe.
Yeah, probably. And then number 8, I don't know if it's pronounced Palas or Bayas. I guess it depends like where they're from.
Yeah.
And then the Mars Volta, which we sort of talked about recently in relation to like an online list we read.
Yeah.
And then number 10, Jethro Tull.
That's a neat
Interesting.
list. Yeah. Then we've got sit back, folks. This is a long list. I'm going to pronounce the name Ion or Eon Radu lists Gentle Giant, and that's it.
Yeah, so gigantic it took up the entire top 10 list from
I
that.
know. If you're going to have one band, that's a good one.
Yeah. All right, and then we got Ed Van Viegen, who says King Crimson, Gentle Giant, Camel, and Marillion with Fish. So another preference to that Fish era with that band.
Cool. Brian Hines says Dream Theater, ELP, Asia, and Dream Theater.
Yeah. I
like
kind of
that.
wonder if maybe Brian ranks certain eras of Dream Theater above ELP and Asia, maybe other eras below them.
That's
I don't
interesting.
know.
Yeah. I like that take. Yeah.
And then Carrie Goldman says Genesis, Supertramp, Moody Blues, Gentle Giant, Pink Floyd, Star Castle, OC Bisa, and Marillion. I think that might be our first mention of, maybe only mention of Star Castle, which.
And Osibisa too.
Yeah, like, Roger Dean has done art for OC Bisa with the Elephants, and Star Castle is kind of looked back as one of like a band that was around during the Yes solo album era in the 70s that sort of whetted people's appetites while they waited for another Yes album.
Wouldn't it be interesting if it was them as what's it called when a writer changes their name,
a ghostwriter or a pseudonym?
Yes, pseudonym. Would that be hilarious if that came out? I have to say, Supertramp has been mentioned here so many times. There's some music I'm just not familiar with because the Supertramp I hear in my head is I don't consider progressive. I consider it more, honestly, more pop. When I think of The Long Way Home, what's the other song on Breakfast in America that was a big hit? I know it makes me want to look into what do I not know. Obviously, on the odd person out, like I suggested I may be in the beginning when Super Chat was first mentioned. So I'll look into that and report back. Martin Clark says, Yes is probably my favorite of the prog bands, but a very close second would be ELP, Pink Floyd, Genesis. All these bands, including Yes, have every single official release and quite a lot of bootlegs. Wow, that's awesome. I'm a casual listener of Gentle Giant, King Crimson, Mike Oldfield, Rush, and Gracious. I'm not familiar with Gracious. I have a few albums from these bands. Another great love of mine is PFM, being from Italy, and many releases were only put out in Italy, making them hard to collect, but I still have a large collection of them. That's impressive. I like that. Dude has his niche.
Yeah. And then we get Steve Gash. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out how to pronounce this. Okay, yeah, let's go with that. It's spelled Gajddzizz, but yeah, so Steve's list includes the Moody Blues, King Crimson, ELP, Genesis, Kansas, Renaissance, Curved Air, Jethro Tull, Electric Light Orchestra, Saga, and Asia.
Interesting. Saga again, and first mention of Curved Air.
Yeah.
Renaissance we got quite a few times. So I didn't rank mine. It just seemed like so much work to do that.
Well, before we get to ours, let's read like
let's look at comments.
Yeah.
We were going to read our comments, but that's okay. We can break our own rules.
Right. Yeah. Well, we do that all the time. So Meadowlander chiming in again says number 1, Rush, followed by Kansas, Starcastle. Oh, another Starcastle mention.
Yeah.
Flash, which is Peter Banks's band, Genesis, King Crimson, ELP, Styx, and Mahavishnu Orchestra, and then Dream Theater. And then we have Harry Whitley, who is in Asia, and he says, so at number 10, he says, I guess I have to include Asia. Wow.
The dude just saved his big. Harry.
And then number 9, Supertramp. In parentheses, he said, I'd say prog-ish.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Harry.
So maybe it is prog, but maybe not to the extent that you see some of these other bands as. Yeah. Okay. Number 8, King Crimson. 7, Renaissance. Number 6, Yes. And in parentheses, he says drama is number 1.
Interesting.
Number 5, Focus. Number 4, Alan Parsons. Number 3, UK. Number 2, ELP. And number 1, Genesis. Wow.
Interesting to put that in the countdown format. Thanks, Harry. That's cool.
Yeah. And look at these other comments.
Carl says, oh, heck. Is ELO prog? If they're allowed, I would include them. Yeah, I know a lot of people consider them prog. They just never resonated with me. I don't know why. I have a lot of respect for Jeff Lynne and Bev Bevan, who ended up playing with Black Sabbath when Ian Gillan did the album, the tour with them. But I just never felt anything from them. Nothing.
Well, I think one of their songs that was on the radio, if I'm not getting them mixed up with someone else, I think they have this like really long, complicated instrumental, which sounded proggy to me. And Carl says maybe the early ELO albums for sure. And he also said Supertramp, Crime of the Century is their most prog album. So maybe you got to start there when you look into that.
Okay. Forgot about that.
Meadowlander says Steven Wilson is multi-genre. Joseph T. Paz is watching in Lubbock, Texas.
Lubbock,
and lists Rush, Kansas, and ELP. I'm just scrolling to see if I missed anything else. I think Carl said surprised no Steven Wilson mention other than Porcupine Tree. But I think we got like maybe 1 or 2 Steven Wilson mentions.
Yeah.
So yeah,
they ended up popping up. So do you want to each read our full list rather than go back and forth? That might make it confusing since we didn't rank it.
Yeah, because for mine, like I feel like I have a few that I know for sure are toward the top, and then the rest are like were really hard to choose, and I don't even know if I have them in the right order of how I would rank them. So yeah, let's read your list and then mine.
Okay. When I'll admit, when I first made the list, at the top was Yes. I'm like, oh, wait a minute, it's top 10 other than Yes. So
Yeah.
in no particular order, Genesis, ELP, Rush, Gentle Giant, John Anderson and the Band Geeks. I'm so impressed with. That's the number one CD in my truck. I just can't stop listening to it. It's so good. Return to Forever. I didn't see that pop up. It's fusion, but it's prog for sure. UK, Jethro Tull. And I had Haken on the list. And then I remembered wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, that's on the 8. And then Haken and Pink Floyd. But then I gotta mention some honorable mentions I just love. Peter Gabriel, Asia, Kansas, The Flower Kings, Old Journey. I love the newer Journey, but when we're talking about just prog, Old Journey. And then there's some others that people mentioned that I was like, there's so many.
Yeah.
That's basically my list.
Okay. So on my list, so
Wow, I didn't
at the
even list King Crimson. That's lame. I can't believe that.
oh, were they
Okay,
not in your honorable mentions or
they weren't. I forgot to put them there too, so I'm putting it just so it's on the record. Yeah.
okay. um so apart from Yes, and when putting together this list, I was taking different things into account, like have I listened to multiple albums by this band, and have I tried going through their discography, and how far did I get, and how often does their music come to mind when I'm just like thinking of music in my head.
I did
So
the same thing, but I added, do I play air guitar to this band's music? Just kidding.
okay, yeah. So and I think with those, with the whole like multiple albums thing, I think that allowed me like some leeway to like omit some of the Yes related bands that like otherwise it would be like a full maybe a huge chunk of the list would feel so Yes related. But so anyway, so my list includes Cinema, XYZ, a few different Yes tribute bands. No, I'm kidding. My actual list. So at number one, I have Rush. Just their whole catalog and how they really were stuck together. And I do love the original album with John Rutsey as well. But the way the trio after that was able to stick together all those years, and like Neil, Getty, Alex, like just amazing, and the showmanship. And
Yeah.
then number two, I have Pink Floyd. Again, like some really iconic music, some really psychedelic stuff, and just
Yeah, Pink Floyd is one I accidentally left off. So I slipped it in the honorable mention, or I had Haken and I meant to put in Pink Floyd, something like that. So thanks for the reminder. You can't leave
yeah,
Pink Floyd, a huge Pink Floyd fan.
yeah. And then I'm not sure if these next ones will be numbered, but they're close to the top. So Asia, and I do enjoy the John Payne stuff, but I do prefer the John Wetton stuff, particularly the reunion era stuff. Like I know people really love those first two Asia albums, and I love them as well, but the reunion era, that stretch of four strong albums after coming back with the original lineup, and then Gravitas didn't have Steve Al on it, but was still like sort of part of that run. It's just such a strong run there.
Yeah.
Um, and then ELP, Emerson, Lake and Palmer. It's like, just such amazing composers, and what they were able to put out. It's great. And I do like E.L. Powell as well. I don't know if I'd put it as like the same band, but it's definitely in the family in a way,
Yeah. I saw them live
Oh, yeah.
at Irvine Meadows
Oh,
on
wow.
on Halloween night.
Oh, so did they have extra daggers and stuff?
Yeah, but Keith wore a mask for one of the songs. I can't remember which one. And another little tidbit, Marcy was pregnant with Samantha, and Victoria was dressed like a bug, like a spider. She had multiple like arms that were strung together, and we were driving her to drop her off at Grandma and Grandpa's, and we got T-boned by a car.
Oh wow.
No, that's when we got rear-ended. We got rear-ended by a car, so we quickly dropped her off, and Grandpa let me take his car to the concert because I didn't know what shape my car was in until we got back. So yeah, that was a weird night. And then we drove all the way from the West Valley to Irvine Meadows, right near where you ended up going to university. So weird little tie in there, and it was great. Cozy Powell, I could not believe his double bass work in knee-high cowboy boots. Basically, it was like, how is he doing that wearing those boots? It was crazy. It was great, and he did play the conga drums for from the beginning. It was great. It was a great show. I was very impressed, and I love the album too.
Nice. And Carl does chime in saying, to me, EL Powell is still ELP. Yeah, totally
Okay,
fair, Carl.
cool. The
Um,
initials prove it.
yeah, so so continuing my list, King Crimson, which a few years ago I might not have put them in my top 5, but over the last few years of doing this podcast and listening to stuff for the podcast, like particularly the Bill Bruford era King Crimson, and also seeing David Cross's band on one of the Prog stock streams, and just being reminded of how great all that like late 60s mid to mid 70s King Crimson music is. And I did see Beat last year, so I got
I
a
was
taste
good.
of the 80s, and
Yeah,
it's really cool. I really enjoy it, but I think I do have a preference toward the 60s 70s stuff.
that's
And
interesting.
yeah.
I love Red. And other than that, my favorite lineup is Robert, Bill, Tony, and Adrian. And I saw the Three of a Perfect Pair tour at the Greek Theater in LA, and I just love that album. I have a video. I have it's available everywhere now, but I have a VHS of them doing that show in Tokyo. So it's got some extra footage and stuff. I love that lineup. It's so good. Adrian jumping on drums and electronic percussion here and there. Great lineup, great music. It's cool that they pulled Beat together like that.
Yeah. And then after King Crimson, I have Genesis. Um, and it's been forever since I've gone through their whole catalog, but I do think I might have a preference toward the Peter Gabriel era. But I've also lately, the last couple of years of, having seen Steve Hackett in concert and listening to all that stuff, I really enjoy that era as well, like the the mid to late 70s stuff.
Yeah.
Um, and another one that I not sure would be on this list a few years ago, but has climbed up recently just from me refreshing myself on them, is Gentle Giant. Listening to that playing the full of a complete live experience is really a reminder of just how unique and eccentric they could be, especially like the vocals and the showmanship. Like they're really weird in an awesome way. It's really cool.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
and then after that, let's see, how many do I have here? So that's 7. And then I've also included Lobate Scarp, our friend Adam
Oh,
Sears's band. Like,
yeah.
yeah, like sometimes some of those tracks will just wander into my head, and that's a good testament to that
Yeah.
music. And I've also included Frost. Again, the band Craig Blundell's in, and I've been listening to some of that music again lately. And for number 10, this was really tough, but I think this might be an odd choice to put, but I've been thinking
Supertramp.
about their music. Yeah, it's super trip. No, it's not, but maybe in a similar vein, because like some of their music is poppy, but there's still like some prog stuff in their music, and that's Downs Braid Association.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Here's one. I don't know if we covered this, but Joseph T.
Oh yeah, we
Parker.
read that one.
We
Yeah.
did. Okay. You know what? I'm surprised we didn't hear one mention of. I'm really surprised by this. a lot of people consider a certain era of the Beatles as the beginning of the psychedelia era, which to me is prog, which is what sparked like the Sid Barrett era of Pink Floyd and some other bands, of that time. I'm kind of surprised there wasn't one mention of someone kind of shoehorning that in, but it's valid.
Yeah, yeah, and in fact,
The White Album
yeah,
alone, I think, is you could say is prog.
yeah, and I think in Derek Schulman's upcoming book, Giant Steps, which we'll talk about when we have him on the show on the 25th, I think there's a brief moment where he talks about how the Beatles were such a huge impact on these psychedelic rock bands, and of course
Yeah.
some of those became prog bands as well. So you got to wonder, like, how much does prog rock owe to the Beatles? You know?
Yeah, if you listen to those really early Pink Floyd albums, you can hear it. Absolutely. That was their influence. It's doubtless. It really is. Carl says, I didn't know Yes related bands were allowed. Can you guys do a show where we rank Yes related bands and or albums? That's not a bad idea. So Carl, I'm just curious, what's your take on that as far as can we stay away from solo albums though? To me, that's different from what you're proposing, but what's your take on that? And Steve, what's your take? I would say eliminate their solo albums, but make it like Down's Braid, Asia, UK, King Crimson.
Yeah, yeah, and I do
What
wonder.
qualifies as a Yes related band?
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. Like, is it, if it has the name of the band member in it, like Anderson, Bruford, Wakeman, Howe, or Anderson Stold, or
Right. So he
oh,
says
Carl,
no solo albums would be fine. Okay.
and
The
or
band
would it?
White is not a solo album, but it'd be a related band. Uh
Yeah, and like,
Circa,
would Rick Wakeman and the English Rock Ensemble count? Like, uh,
right.
yeah, I don't
The
know.
18 bands that Billy Sherwood and Chris Squire had.
Yeah,
You know, the,
yeah. So it's like, what do we classify as Yes related?
yeah, we'd have to put the rules pretty defined, or the guidelines rather, not rules, but
Yeah, people can write to us at yesshiftpodcast@gmail.com and let us know what you think.
yeah.
Give us your feedback on maybe the guidelines and
Yeah.
stuff.
And
Um,
I wouldn't mind having a show. What are your top 10 non-prog bands? Maybe they've
oh
put out a
yeah,
song or two that could be considered because it's prog fans watching this. So there's some bands like Led Zeppelin isn't prog, but they have a few songs that could be called prog. In the Light, Carousel Alhambra, there's some things like that, but all in all, they're not prog. Same thing with Black Sabbath, the same thing with Iron Maiden. So I think that would be a neat top 10.
no, yeah, we'll cover both of those topics in the future. But yeah, I think
Cool.
this was a good way to do this particular list because when I made the post, I did not say try not to include Yes related bands, but even without saying that, people had such diverse lists, and it shows us like the breadth and scope of what Yes fans are into outside of Yes when
Yeah.
it comes to prog, which is really cool.
I I counted, I think, 7 bands I've never heard of, maybe 8. So
Mm,
it's like in my mountain of available time, I will dive into all those catalogs.
yeah,
And that's me being extremely sarcastic.
yeah. All right.
Very
So
cool.
yeah, thanks for tuning in, everyone. Really fun lists to read and more music for us to try to get into and
Yeah. Thanks for
explore.
sending your lists in. Thank you for putting comments in the comments. And special thank you to Carl Coppage for coming up with the idea, sending it in to us. And you can do that too by writing us at yesshiftpodcast@gmail.com. The @ sign is lowercase.
Well, if it were lowercase, it would be a 2, so no.
That's right.
And people can follow us at Yesshift on Facebook and YouTube, or go to anchor.fm/Yesshift if you want to check out the audio and check out our backlog. We got a lot of stuff. And tomorrow,
199 other episodes, plus the news desk reports, plus Steve's reviews. A lot of
yeah.
stuff.
And tomorrow, Sunday the 14th at noon Pacific, we'll be talking about the reissues of Steve Howe's albums Portraits of Bob Dylan and Natural Timbre. So keep an eye out for that and tune in, and that'll be a really fun convo.
Absolutely. Thanks everybody so much. We will see you soonish. Very soonish, in fact.
Yeah.